The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of jolts. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking about the new Kate Beckinsale Amazon original, Jolt. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Salty Nerd Podcast. Alex is not here today, so I will be taking on his hosting duties. I am Matthew Kadish, as I'm known, author extraordinaire. And with me, as always, is my wonderful panel of nerds minus one, starting with Matt Vader 74. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, man. How are you?
You excited about this movie?
I am. I wanted to ask you how that blue check mark's working out for you.
Oh, it's working out great.
Are you important?
I'm very important.
He's gotten very hard to live with.
Yes, I have a great deal of leather-bound books, and my house smells of rich mahogany, so it's all good. And also with us today is the ambassador of estrogen herself, Jude.
Hello.
Juju. How are you doing today, my dear?
I'm good. How are you?
You don't look too excited about this movie.
Well, we'll talk about it.
All right. So before we start talking about this new action movie on Amazon, we're going to take a quick break to hear from some sponsors, and then we'll be right back. Hey, everyone. Just real quick, if you want to help support the podcast, head on over to saltynerdclub.com. That takes you to our Patreon page. And you can sign up for a tier and get all types of cool rewards in exchange for helping to support the podcast. Matt Vader 74, what type of rewards can people get when they sign up for our Patreon page?
Our Patreon page?
Yeah.
Well, let me think. So,
It's a mystery. You'll find out when you sign up.
I didn't know you were going to ask me this question.
Well, they get
So,
they get outtakes, behind the scenes
outtakes,
stuff.
behind the scenes. We do a lot of photo dumps. It's just us communicating with our supporters. We have fun there. You know, it's very unorganized right now.
You guys are really selling it.
I know, right? You know,
What a
it's just like
pitch.
it's like we don't have a lot of Patreons, but the ones that we have, I think, enjoy.
We create
hanging
extra
out with us.
content for
Yes.
patrons.
Yeah.
And then we also allow the patrons to pick a show, like usually
That's-
once every 6 months,
That's
once every
coming
year.
up. We're going to be doing that
Yeah.
soon. Yes.
So you get to decide what we talk about, what we
Yeah.
watch.
And sometimes we do Patreon-only episodes where we'll sit here and record ourselves talking to patrons on Twitter Spaces and stuff like that. And we also have a Patreon-only section of our Discord.
Yeah.
that people
All of those things we do for
We've
patrons.
now been talking about Patreon for too long. Let's move.
Yeah, so head on over to saltynerdclub.com if you want to help support the podcast. Every little bit helps. And if you don't want to give us money, then give us some reviews or ratings. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Helps us out with the algorithm, and it doesn't cost you anything. You don't even need to subscribe. Just give us a thumbs up. And also, if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, consider leaving us a review. We really appreciate those.
I am a master salesman.
Yes. All right. So getting back to the movie Jolt, Jude, what is this movie all about?
All right. 2021 Jolt, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour, 30 minutes. I have no money information on it, but I will go right into the synopsis for you. Kate Beckinsale is hot as hell in a movie that, like her, looks fantastic, and that's it. She's got homicidal adrenaline issues, but if she gives herself an electric jolt every time she wants to kill someone, she gets through her days with minimal casualties. Then she meets a boy who changes everything and who may not be what he seems.
Is it weird that I enjoyed this movie?
No.
I didn't hate it. I just really I thought visually it looked great, and
Yeah.
I just thought she looked stunning.
She's
the whole movie,
Kate Beckinsale.
and then it ended, and I was like, "Did I like that?"
That's kind of how I feel about
Yeah.
it.
This is a very uneven movie, in my opinion, because it starts off really good. Like I was
I liked the backstory.
yeah, like Kate Beckinsale plays a character named Lindy. She's a professional bouncer. Like
She's just a professional badass
She's just
in a bunch
yeah.
of different ways.
yeah, but
She's just a crazy person.
The movie starts off with kind of like her backstory, which is like she has this kind of special condition where her body overproduces cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it makes her like hyper aggressive, and it also naturally kind of enhances her physical strength and reflexes and stuff like that.
And tolerance to pain too.
Yeah, and so like because of this, like she has a hair trigger, and she just goes off on people.
She wants to kill everybody all the time.
Yeah, she hates people.
It's like
It's like me, but without the physical strength or.
it's like living with some crazy over some crazy person with super strength with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this causes her parents to like, turn to alcohol and divorce. And they have all these doctors kind of examine her, and they try to put her in the military to kind of harness this stuff, but she can't.
That doesn't work.
Yeah. She doesn't follow orders or anything like that. And eventually they hook her up with this psychologist who comes up with this electroshock therapy, where basically when she feels her bloodlust rising, she gives herself a little electric shock and it kind of snaps her out of it. And so like that prevents her from basically like killing everyone she meets.
I'm not going to lie here. Kate Beckinsale tickles me in great places. Okay.
She is gorgeous.
I'm a fan of hers. Okay. Yeah. I kind of enjoyed this movie. I don't know exactly why I did. I appreciated
if somebody else had been the main character in this, would you have liked this movie?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because at least this movie bothered to tell us why and how she is the way she is.
Yes. If Brie Larson starred in this movie,
no,
would you like it?
I won't watch a Brie Larson movie anymore. Just like I won't watch a Ryan Johnson movie. I just won't. I wouldn't even have agreed to watch it for the podcast. But this movie, like I just said, at least they bothered to give us some setup, some why, and how, and I appreciated that, because a lot of movies don't bother to do that anymore. But the thing that I kept doing to myself while watching this movie is last week we watched that piece of shit, Gunpowder Milkshake.
Oh, right.
Okay, starring more badass women, and that movie just annoyed me. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that way about this, but I can't help but compare the two because we watched them so close together on the streaming.
Yeah,
things.
I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you're saying that because they bothered to set up how like a 90-pound woman could take on guys like twice her size, you had no problem believing her doing this.
I wasn't like offended. My brain didn't say this is bullshit. It's like she's got some glandular problems and she has issues.
They even mentioned that in the movie where the Jai Courtney, when she tells him that she's a bouncer, he's like, "What are you, like 90 pounds?" And she's like, "It's complicated."
It's like, it's like I'm not going to get offended because it's just yet another movie in the long line of kick-ass women movies that Hollywood keeps sending out on that treadmill. Mm-hmm. This one I kind of liked. Whereas Gunpowder Milkshake, I got annoyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
While I was watching Gunpowder Milkshake, I was, this is stupid. Out loud hating the movie.
Right.
This, I didn't feel like that. I was paying attention through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed Kate Beckinsale through the whole thing. I mean, it was pretty predictable.
I mean, I like her.
I appreciated that they set it up.
So, like, I'm a huge Underworld fan.
Me too.
Okay. And I think that's
I've been trying to get Katish to rewatch Underworld all week.
We're going to watch those movies for the show someday.
But like I got to the end of the movie, and at the end of the movie, I was like, did I like that? Mm-hmm. I don't think that I did.
You're right.
But I didn't hate watching it.
No.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
I never need to watch it again. They're probably going to make more of them, which I probably don't need to see. Yeah. But... yeah, I think it looked good, and that was enough to keep me watching it.
I kept thinking she needed to do something with her hair. It's a little messy.
Well, you love to pick apart women's hair. I walked down the stairs today, and he made a comment about my hair.
At least
Vader's weird about women's hair.
I raised two girls, and I've been around women for years.
That's fine. You love to talk about women's haircuts.
It's you don't know how many hours of fashion police I've had to endure. Okay, and it's turned me into kind of a snarky bitch.
You are a bit of a snarky bitch when it comes to hair.
Totally agree. All
right. So Kate Beckinsale's hair aside, I think that this movie started off really good.
Yeah.
Like I liked the setup where they explain what her condition was, and the movie starts off with her meeting Jai Courtney, who's just some dude that she met online for a date, and when she gets there, she's so nervous, like she just wants to leave, but she doesn't want to be a dick about it. So she goes in to tell him, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't do this." And when she does that, he kind of like is so charming that he convinces her to kind of like stick around for the date just to see
Well,
how
he's
it
getting
goes.
bullied by the waitress.
Well,
and
that
she
happens
hates that.
after he kind of like gets her to agree to stay around. So the interesting thing about this is that, you know, her character, because of her condition, has never been able to have like a real connection with another human being before. And so like dating just terrifies her, but it's something that her therapist is making her do, because he's like, you need to be able to connect with people. But she's had experiences in the past where, like, you know, the person that she's been with has annoyed her and she's hurt that person.
Physically.
Yeah, physically. So like she's understandably nervous about it. But Jai Courtney's character, Justin, just comes off as so kind of like down to earth and charming and disarming and stuff like that, that for the first time in her life, she actually kind of has like a real human connection with somebody. Because, like, you know, by the time they have sex for the first time, like she's taken off her clothes and you see this like kind of like rig that administers the electroshock to her. And
Oh God, that was so hot.
yeah.
What is that all about?
and she's very self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
And he kind of like just rolls with it, makes her feel comfortable. And so like for the first time ever, like she, like the next morning she feels like she's cured, because like somebody, like she actually had a connection with someone.
And he wants to see her again.
Yeah. And he wants to cook dinner for her at his place.
This crazy bitch. She's like, I actually,
And so what happens is that Jai Courtney's character gets murdered that night. And when he doesn't call her and she thinks that, you know, like, what's going on? Like, did he just, you know, ghost me or whatever? And then she finds out that he was murdered. She now is obsessed with finding out who killed him. And so she goes on this quest to basically track down the potential suspects as to why, you know, he might be murdered.
Are we spoiling this?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, these are spoilers. It's
Okay.
Yeah. And so like the rest of the movie is basically her going out and trying to track down who killed this man that she had this connection with, and using her particular condition as a way to.
She's got a very specific set of skills.
Exactly. Now, when this movie first started, up until the point where she's at the police station talking with the detectives about this guy's murder, I was on board.
Yeah.
I thought the first act of this movie was really strong. When she starts doing her own investigation and getting into like a lot of the nitty gritty of this stuff, is when the movie starts to fall apart for me, because the director of this movie, her name's Tanya Wexler. And this is like she hasn't made a whole lot of movies. I think that this was like her first big film. And you can tell that this movie is from a first-time director, because the action scenes are a mess. This has some of the worst editing I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Really?
Yeah, at a big budget Amazon production, like there were just confusing cuts all throughout.
I wish I had that eye that you do to be able to see that kind of stuff, because nothing really bugged me as far as that kind of stuff goes. But
yeah, but every time an action scene happened, the editing just kind of like went really wonky. It makes me think that like a lot of stuff got recut, or they were missing a lot of coverage, and so like they had to cut around it or something.
Did you notice Walter Gray was in this?
Walter Frey.
Frey, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, he played the bad guy Faisal.
Yeah.
He was like the bad dude.
Yeah.
The guy that was like hanging from the cords and stuff.
Yeah. So basically,
I spent my time in this movie
just staring at Kate Beckinsale.
Well,
that's fair.
I was trying to figure out where I'd seen the boyfriend.
Oh, Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney, because I just, you know, I don't, it's like,
I'm still trying to figure it out.
No, well, so you've seen all of him
on
Spartacus.
Oh, okay.
He was the blonde dude on Spartacus.
Huh.
Yeah, with the perm.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, that's the dude. I had to IMDb him, and then I like instantly remembered who he was.
Yeah, he was also Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
and
it was wild.
He was John McClane's son in Die Hard 5, I think.
He has a weird look to him. It's just like he's not like Hollywood like hunk, but at the same time, it's like
yeah, he can play anything.
Yeah.
That face goes with any role, pretty much.
Really, he's really an interesting kind of character to me.
Well, you know what's funny is like he's a big enough name where there's this old kind of saying. I don't know if it's a saying, but there's this old trope in movies where it's like if someone dies and you don't see them die or see their body, they're not really dead.
Mhm.
And so when it got to the point where she's at the police station, she's talking with Bobby Cannavale, who's the detective.
I did like him.
And his partner, Nevin, played by Laverne Cox, who I believe is a trans actress.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, because she was in
Orange is the New
Orange
Black.
is the New Black, yeah. And Bad Hair, which we also reviewed.
Yes.
So like, you know, so she's talking with these two detectives, and she's like, "Can I see his body?" And they're just like, "No." And at that point, like as soon as they said that she couldn't see the body, I was like, he's still alive.
Oh, so you're like writer brains kicked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. For some reason I didn't pick up on it, but.
Well, I was just like, if it was a nobody actor playing that part,
Yeah,
I'd have probably gone along with it.
Okay.
But because it's Jai Courtney, I was like, there's something up here.
I will admit this. The swerve at the end, they got me.
Really?
It did. They got me. It's like, I did not see that coming. I really did not.
Did you see it coming, June?
That he was alive?
Yeah.
I don't remember if I was surprised or not. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I when we were watching this, like once they were about to go back to her house, I was like, she's either going to kill him or he's going to turn out to be the bad guy.
Right.
And then once she didn't kill him, I was like, okay, so he's definitely the bad guy. And then when he died, I guess I probably didn't see it coming because I was like, yeah, he's definitely the bad guy. He's the mastermind behind this.
I think when they fooled me when they brought in the old dude hanging from the ceiling with the cords.
That was when I completely checked out.
Yeah, that was too weird of an introduction to
Yeah.
the big bad. So it's like, I guess something in my brain just said, okay, well, I guess this is the bad guy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
There were
kill him.
several different layers of bad
Yeah.
guys throughout this that just kind of lost me.
All right.
It's okay.
So let me talk about some of the problems with this movie.
Okay.
And I'll see if you guys agree with me or not, because I feel like once we get past the first act, this movie just becomes a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, Bobby Cannavale's character, Detective Vickers, there's a romance set up between him and Kate Beckinsale's character, Lindy, where he's kind of like, he's like a cool, nice guy, and he's trying to help her out.
He's
and
not
stuff
that
like
cool,
that.
but he is a nice guy.
He
Yeah.
likes the crazy chicks.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And there's just like a weird bickering chemistry between him and his partner that I didn't like.
And also, I didn't find the relationship that sprung up between Kate Beckinsale's character and him very believable.
Same.
So by the time you get to the end of the movie, and it's kind of like a love connection there, where it's like, oh, want to go out on a date? I didn't believe it.
I believed his infatuation with her, but I did not believe her returning it.
Yeah. So so that was one issue. The other issue was his partner, Detective Nevin, played by Laverne Cox. And there's a point in this movie where Kate Beckinsale's character goes to Jai Courtney's apartment, and he's got like this weird like jellyfish painting.
He's
on his
obviously
wall.
a bad guy. Just looking at his apartment, you know he's a bad guy.
He's obviously rich, and
Everything's neon.
They kind of set up that he has one client, and he's like a financial guy at the beginning. And so because he only has one client and he ended up dead, Kate Beckinsale believes that his client had something to do with it. So she's trying to figure out who that is.
I never thought he was a good guy in this. I just thought that they killed him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's obviously a bookkeeper for the mob or whatever it was that they were. And
Yeah. So anyway, Bobby Cannavale's character calls up Kate Beckinsale, and he's like, hey, you know, like, I know you're in his apartment. You're not supposed to be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then his partner shows up in the apartment and starts shooting at
Just
Kate
immediately
Beckinsale.
starts trying to kill her.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that took me out of the movie immediately, because no detective would just fire at someone like that.
Also, it's a crime scene. You can't just like start unloading your gun there.
Yeah, and like as a police officer, you have paperwork that whenever you discharge your firearm and stuff.
that character was absolutely hands down my least favorite part of this movie.
She was horrible.
Not good. Not well written, not well acted. Just not good.
Yeah,
So.
I completely agree with you. And there's a scene between that character as well and Kate Beckinsale's character that, like, I was watching it, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you're making your hero do this. And it's basically like when she's in the hospital, Nevin is chasing her through the hospital. Kate Beckinsale goes into this nursery with newborns. And in order to get away, she picks up these newborns and throws them at the detective. So the detective has to catch the baby.
Right.
giving her time to escape. And I was like, this is our hero.
Yeah, that was horrible.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, what are they doing here? Well, why are we throwing newborn babies across the room? That is not cool. It took me out of it a little bit. I'm not going to lie. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, that was a scene. I had a big problem with that scene. And it was one of those things where, like, it didn't even need to be in the movie.
No.
And it also made me not like Kate Beckinsale's character.
Yeah.
You know, that she would do something like that.
And I mean, her character's already treading on thin ice because she's so volatile. She's just like nearly killing people throughout, like, her whole backstory. Like, she's beaten some other kid with a bat, and you're like, okay, she's a badass, she's got some problems, I'm still on board. But at that point, she's just throwing newborn babies. It makes it so hard to like her.
It's like they really try to nail in the thing that she's not a good person.
Yeah. It's like they tried to push you to the point of not liking her anymore, but she's the main character. So why?
Exactly. I didn't.
Yeah, like I feel like the beginning of this movie kind of set up the sympathy factor because she's got this condition, she can't control it. She wants to be a good person, but like she just has this uncontrollable rage within her.
Yeah.
And the only thing that can stop her is this, jolt of electricity. And so there were a lot of things in this movie when she was kind of going about her own investigation that bugged me. And part of it's like, so she eventually finds out that there's this guy named Gareth Faisal, who was Jai Courtney's client. And he's this big gun runner. He's this like weapons dealer. He's this mob kingpin, crime boss.
The competition of Jai Courtney.
Well, he's kind of like Kaiser Soze. All right.
Okay.
So he's played by the actor who played Walter Frey. His name's David Bradley. He was also in the Harry Potter movies.
He's the groundskeeper.
Yeah. And so he's like in this fortress of a high rise, and she wants to go see him. And she keeps butting heads with this guy, Delacroix, who's like his main henchman. And this is a guy who like she can't just beat up because he's like just as big of a badass. And so Delacroix captures her, interrogates her. He's about to torture her, but then he's like, I'm going to let you go. So he takes off her Jolt vest and kicks her out. And she's like, I need my Jolt vest. And so like she kills the driver that's taken her home and goes back and gets captured again and then kicks the guy's butt again. So like, but after that, Delacroix goes to Faisal and tells Faisal about Kate Beckinsale breaking into the high rise. And Faisal's like, why'd you let her go? Go kill her. And Delacroix's like, oh, okay. And
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Thank God I have you as my boss.
Yeah, so you'd think like he'd capture her, then he'd go and tell Faisal and get what he wants to do and then do whatever. But he lets her go, and then it's like, okay, I got to send guys to go kill her now. So like the logic of the writing of this was kind of all over the place. And then you have this big long fight scene where Kate Beckinsale basically is fighting all of Faisal's dudes as she's trying to make her way up to him. And it's very obviously a stunt double with a bad wig. It's shot from behind doing the fighting.
I don't even think I noticed at that point.
I didn't either.
Yeah, like you can tell like the blonde wig on this lady on the stunt double is very blatant. And they never show her face when she's fighting. And then like it'll cut away to Kate Beckinsale, and then it'll cut back to this. It was all done in one shot, but it was all with the stunt lady with the bad wig. And when I was watching that, I was like, come on, give me a break. And plus it was so poorly edited that I just kept getting jarred out of like the scene. And then by the time she makes it up to Faisal's penthouse again, because previously Delacroix had brought her up there to meet with him and have a face-to-face. And he's like, I don't remember if I killed your boyfriend or not. I've killed so many people. And then like, he's like, get rid of her. So she makes it back up, and we find out that Faisal's already dead. And she's like, who killed Faisal? And then Jai Courtney comes out, and it turns out that he's actually a CIA agent who wanted to kill Faisal, but he couldn't because his bosses still use him for CIA stuff.
Oh, I forgot he was CIA.
Yeah, and he needed a scapegoat, like Kate Beckinsale's character, to blame the murder on. And so she did everything that he wanted her to do and got up to that point. And then like he had like the clicker for her Jolt vest because he was working with her psychiatrist.
Yeah, that was the thing that surprised me. I didn't see that coming with the whole connection to the psychiatrist.
Yeah, so Stanley Tucci plays her psychiatrist.
I think he's probably my second favorite character in this movie.
Same.
Stanley Tucci?
Yeah.
The psychiatrist, yeah. Because I liked her and I like him. The
Yeah,
rest of the staff, the rest of the crew, I'm like,
I pretty much like him in anything he does,
yeah,
though.
yeah. No, it's like Kingsman. He's basically the same dude in every movie I think he plays in. But yeah, I like him. I like his banter. I like his demeanor.
I liked the relationship that they had.
Yeah.
And like, you know, she'd come in and she'd be like, you know, through either manic or like depressive. And he'd just come in with his like, you know, Chinese takeout and be like, you know, like
pull his gun out. It's like, hey, whoa. You're not going to kill
Don't
me
you
right
eat
now.
my egg roll.
No, the rice. The rice.
Yeah, it's the rice.
The shrimp fried rice is mine.
Yeah.
Don't touch my rice. Yeah, I get it.
And he keeps a gun in his desk. So like if she comes in, he can protect herself.
Because she's
and
cray
stuff,
cray.
yeah.
You know.
So basically, Jai Courtney's character kind of like collaborated with her psychiatrist to set her down this path. You know, the whole date thing was everything from the beginning was a setup, just so he could murder this Faisal guy and then pin it on her. And so the psychiatrist gave him the Jolt clicker thing, and he was basically going to electrocute her to death. And it turns out that like she's like built up a tolerance to that jolting, and she ends up, you know, kicking Jai Courtney's butt and killing him. And so, you know, she goes and she confronts the psychiatrist, and you think that she's going to kill him, but the police show up and shoot her in the leg. Bobby Cannavale shoots her in the leg. And it turns out she was just arresting him. So she's kind of gotten control over her like bloodlust because of, you know, her tolerance to the jolting. And she wakes up in the hospital, and the same guy who shot her in the leg is the guy that asked her out on a date, Bobby Cannavale. And she's like, yeah, okay. And she ends up at her old apartment, which she blew up earlier in the film, like because like
to fake her death.
Yeah, Faisal's guys like planted some bombs there because remember he let her go, and then he's like, oh no, I changed my mind, kill her, you know, type thing. So she shows up at her bombed out apartment. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Susan Sarandon shows up. Yeah, and Susan Sarandon does the opening monologue of this movie where they're talking about her backstory, Kate Beckinsale's backstory.
We never see her face, but it's just like her voiceover.
Yeah. And so when she shows up, when Susan Sarandon shows up at the end, she's supposedly with the CIA. And she's talking to Kate Beckinsale about harnessing her power to use for the government, for these covert ops and stuff.
And she's like very like nonchalantly like, oh, sorry about that Justin guy.
Yeah. And so what's funny is that when she you know, she comes out and it's the big reveal of like, you know, who this is, Susan Sarandon, they cut back to a scene from the beginning where it's the back of a person's head with red hair. And it's like, oh, that was Susan Sarandon.
All along.
It's like, I'd recognize the back of that head anywhere.
So dumb.
It's like they didn't even bother to do a shot where they like showed like a de-aged Susan Sarandon, you know, or something like that. It was just the back of someone's head.
That was very strange to me. I mean, it's obvious they're trying to set this up as the first movie in some kind of series or
the Jolt universe.
The Jolt universe, yeah. You know, every time I hear the word Jolt, I instantly go back to
Jolt Cola,
like 1985.
Same.
And I want my Jolt Cola.
Yeah.
Do they even make that stuff anymore?
I doubt it. Wasn't it like cola, but also chocolate
it
milk?
was the first
they
energy
have
drinks.
energy drinks now, so they don't need Jolt Cola. It was basically Coca-Cola with like 3 times the caffeine.
Yeah, it was Red Bull. It was Red Bull.
That would give me an instant anxiety attack.
But
but the movie ends with Susan Sarandon clicking a jolt clicker and makes you think that she's going to jolt, you know, Lindy again, and then it just ends. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that ending made no freaking sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but at that point, did anybody care?
No, because the movie had gone so far off the rails by that point. So like, this is one of those weird movies where it starts off really strong and then progressively gets worse as you go along. Yeah. And it was a cool character that they based the movie around. And I was like, give me more of her and her psychiatrist and like her dealing with like the setup for this movie with her murdered boyfriend was great. And everyone keeps calling him her boyfriend. And she's like, well,
we went on 3 dates.
Yeah.
They were a hookup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, I really liked him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He bought me a camera.
Yeah. So let's do some final thoughts and give it a rating. Vader, what do you think of Jolt?
Man. You know what? It's like you said, the start, the setup was good. The longer this movie went along, the kind of like dumber it felt. You know what I mean? I like the character. I like some of the auxiliary characters. I like the psychiatrist. I'd like to see more of him. You know, as far as this setting up a movie franchise with the Susan Sarandon thing, I don't think I'm into that. But you know, I don't know. When you think of the term Netflix and chill, you know what I mean?
This is Amazon, but yeah,
or whatever, Amazon and chill. Okay, Amazon and waste some time. This is right there.
Yeah.
This is worth watching if you want to kill a couple hours and just want to veg and have a drink and watch a movie. That's fine. As far as it setting up a series of movies or something, I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in seeing more of this character or not at this point. I would give it around somewhere in the middle, 2.5, maybe a shaky 3, kind of just for this genre. It's you know, I feel like they're trying to like tap into that whole kind of John Wick kind of area of movies that all these companies are trying to make now. You know what I mean? With maybe a twist. But I'd rather watch Keanu Reeves do his thing. But yeah, 2.5. I'm gonna go 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll say this. So this was a inexperienced director, Tanya Wexler. The writer, Scott Washa, I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is the first and only thing he's written. And you can tell that this was not a professional production in the sense that it was done by experienced filmmakers. It felt very kind of like fast and loose. I feel like a lot of the editing issues that I saw throughout the film were specifically because the director didn't get enough coverage and maybe the editor they got just wasn't very good. The story gets very convoluted towards the end. Like I kind of feel like Jai Courtney's evil plan was something that, you know, like it would have been better if it had just been kept simple where the boyfriend actually was murdered and she just tracks down the murderer.
Right,
you know, like I think that would have been a much stronger story.
It started out strong, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of fizzled.
Yeah. And there could have been a great emotional arc with Lindy's character where, you know, as she's learning more about this guy and she finds out that he's not everything that she thought he was, but that was still the only human connection that she's ever had. And so like, she just keeps sticking with it. Like it could have been
interesting.
It could have been a really like emotional kind of character arc for her. And we could have seen more with her and Stanley Tucci's psychiatrist.
I think for what she was given to work with, I think she did okay.
Well, I think Kate Beckinsale carried this movie.
For sure.
Like she was basically, you know, fantastic in it. I feel like the character of Lindy was really interesting. I just don't feel like the story that they put her in was as good as it could have been. And
I want to see her in like a zombie movie, killing zombies.
well, Kate Beckinsale in anything is pretty good.
Right.
Like even
it just works.
Even the remake of Total Recall, you know, like she's a highlight.
Oh man,
I didn't watch it.
I want more Underworld movies. I just they make me feel funny in my pants. You know, it's just yeah.
Yeah, like when you used to climb the rope in gym class.
Kind of, yeah.
So this movie did have a box office. I think they showed it in one theater just to get like the stuff. So it made $37,000 in the theater, and then they sold it to Amazon, and so now it's an Amazon original. But the overall movie, I feel like, was a solid. I'm tempted to give it 1.5, but I'm going to give it 2.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a good time watching this. It was just like there were certain things in the movie that were just so stupid that I had a hard time forgiving it. And I see the potential in this movie.
For sure.
And I wish that the movie had lived up to that potential. And I'm interested to see if they do a sequel for this, if the movie can be improved upon.
I mean, the cast is good, right?
Oh yeah,
there's some good actors in this thing.
Yeah. The DNA of this movie is great. It was just the execution in certain parts wasn't very good. So I give it a solid 2 stars out of 5. Jude, what are your final thoughts and what would you rate this?
I don't disagree with anything that you said. I think that 100% Kate Beckinsale carried this. I'm really disappointed with like so the movie is about her deciding she has fallen in love with this man. It's her only connection that she's ever had with a human, and that is the driving force of this entire movie. And then when she finds out that everyone she's ever cared about or trusted, who also happens to be a man, has betrayed her and isn't what she thought that they were, then all of a sudden she decides she's going to trust this fucking cop and go out on a date with him. That was so annoying. And I feel like everything that they did with Laverne Cox's character was a terrible choice in writing. I feel like they did her dirty. They just put her in this movie for, I don't even know what the reason was, because they did nothing with her character, and she was annoying and bickering through the whole thing. And there was a lot I didn't like about this movie, but I didn't realize it until I was done watching it, because visually it looks great. So I didn't hate the experience of watching this. I never need to see it again. And if there are sequels, if there's a Jolt cinematic universe, I probably will not bother. But like when I don't like a movie, I base my rating on did I hate my life while I was watching it, and that's not the case. So I give this a also 2 out of 5 stars. But for me, it's not a solid 2 out of 5. For me, it's a 2-star crap fest.
All right, guys. So that was our discussion on the movie Jolt. Vader, where can people find you on the socials?
Oh, you can find me here on this channel Saturday mornings playing video games. You can also find me on the social media at MattVader74. And that's that. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Jude, where can people find you?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can check out my webpage at thevoiceofjude.com. You can check out some of my voiceover work.
I forgot. I'm on TikTok too.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I do like Matt's like, you have to do a TikTok video every day. Every day, TikTok. I do like 2 a week. So,
I do it every day. It's fine.
Your TikToks are pretty entertaining.
I like your TikToks.
They're awful. Hey guys, it's me, Matt Vader.
That's what's charming about
Yeah,
them.
you're like the everyman.
Sitting there drinking some coffee with booze in it.
And I am Matthew Kadish. You can find me on Twitter at Matthew Kadish, Kadish. You can also find me on Getter. And you can find me at kadishbooks.com. That takes you to my Amazon page where you can check out some of the books I've written. Anyway, guys, this is the Salty Nerd Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today for our discussion about Jolt. Take a minute to, give us a thumbs up if you like the video on YouTube. It really helps us out with the algorithm, helps, the more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube recommends our videos. So if you want to support the channel, give us that thumbs up. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a review because those help out as well. Thank you so much. And as always, stay salty, my friends.